Hi, this is Todd Bufek. I'm the president of the Locker Room Managers Association. And what I want to do is just do a traditional pair of dress shoes for you. This is really a fairly easy process. I've already talked about the cleaners that I use. This is a Club Classic vinyl leather cleaner. I'll put a ample amount on there. One of the things you need to do if you don't do them is to clean the welt area with a brush. I find that the best thing to do is to use a plastic brush like this, a suede brush with plastic bristles. You can use a toothbrush too, that works well. But clean out this area, this welt area first. And what I'm doing with the cleaners, I'm taking old polish back off, as you can see, so I don't get any buildup. It's important to do that because if you do get buildup, then it'll get spotty and the finish won't look good. So I'm going to do that with both shoes. Get that one out of the way. And then just take the polish back off. What you'll notice here is that this is actually a leather sole. It's a half sole. It's been cut right here. So if it's a full sole, it would go underneath the heel and you wouldn't be able to tell it was even a newer sole. Unless, of course, it just came back from the shoe repair shop, then you'd be able to tell. Hi there, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Workout today?
Yeah, I need to catch up with my workout. Haven't been
All right.
doing as much as I wanted.
Yep. Well, have a good one.
Okay. See you later.
Beautiful day out there.
Yeah.
Yep. See you later. That's one of our members coming in. I always make sure to greet them and make sure they're taken care of and they have what they need.
Hey, Todd.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I am well.
Good.
I'll
Just
trade you those for a clean pair.
okay. I think that's probably in your locker.
Yeah, still there. Although smaller.
Yeah. It's getting smaller. Mount Lehman. So we call it. We are renovating our golf course and we have a big pile of dirt out there on the driving range, and Tom Lehman is actually doing the redesign of our golf course. He lives here right on the 10th hole. What I'm doing here is I'm using an old style dauber. A lot of people like to use these instead. I don't care for them because they get gunky and they spread out too much and put polish in places I don't want it. So instead I use these. You can't get these anymore. I hear that you can get them from the Philippines, but that's about it. They are considered antiques. These are actually my dad's. So they are quite old. I worked for my dad when I was a teenager. I'm now almost 68, so it's been many, many years, and they have a lot of sentimental value to me. Anyway, what you want to do, a lot of locker room managers, or when you're shining a traditional shoe, will go in circles. I don't really see any advantage to that. It's just something most people do. I don't do it. The shine is still very good. As I've said before, these are leather soles. When you have leather soles, you can put edge dressing on. This doesn't have a label on it, but this is Club Classic liquid polish, and so I put that on the edges. All you have to do is get it started. You don't want too much so it runs all over the place. But you just want a good coat on there, and go all the way around the edges, and you can lean it to the outside so that it doesn't get on the upper. Especially important if you've got a white upper here and you're doing a shoe.
Thank you much.
You're welcome, sir. We'll see you later, Mr. Weiner.
All right.
Anyway, that's how you take care of those. Do the edges. And then we're just going to let that dry for a little bit and buff it out. And then it'll be done. And you'll be able to see the results. The important thing is to put a thin coat on. You don't want to put on a really thick one. And same thing here. You don't want to put on too much, but you want to be able to let it dry. I believe this does have alcohol in it, so it dries very quickly. You've probably been able to see here some members come and go. We don't have many members because our course is closed right now, as you know. And we are having some very nice weather. We're actually starting to plant some grass, and it's coming in quick. and members are beginning to notice. And the excitement is building for the opening of the golf course. Even though it's May right now, it's not going to open until November of later this year. So that's coming up. It'll be very exciting, and I'm sure we'll get run over by a lot of shoes coming in, because we haven't seen very many of late. Anyway, this should be dry at this point, so I'm going to buff it out on the buffer. And I'll be right back to show you the shine. And I have a black wheel that I'll buff this out on. And if you would like to get a video that has techniques in terms of buffing shoes, because there is a specific way to do it correctly. If you do it incorrectly, you're not going to get good results. So it's important to use the buffer appropriately. I was told by a member that presentation is everything, so you want to be sure to get the shoe shiny. He actually had to use buffing cloths back in the day when I worked at the billboard in the 80s and 90s. So that's important to keep in mind. Again, these are dry, so you can see you can buff it out with a buffing cloth if you like. I think the results that I get with the buffing wheel are adequate. Alright, have a good one. We'll see you later. So that's the result of the buffing that you can see there. If you can stick your hand up in front of the shoe and see a reflection in your shoe, you're good to go. So those are in excellent shape, and I'll be putting those back in the member locker. Probably buff them out a little bit more on the knit brush. I have a horsehair and knit. Of course, knit is the equivalent of fine sandpaper or a fine chamois buff, and the horsehair is the equivalent of the roughest shine. Anyway, I finished it off using the knit wheel on the buffer. I'll do that a little bit more. This particular member lives in Chicago for the summers, and so he gets out of here. Anyway, that's a traditional way of doing a pair of shoes with a pair of leather soles. You can use, back in the day, we used to use burnishing wax instead of this particular liquid. Liquid's much easier. You can also use this midsole instant color. That's from Force Supply. If I gave you their number before, but I'll give it again. It's 1-800-543-5430. Anyway, until next time, we'll see you when I do the next pair of shoes.